And it came to be after the death of Shaul, when David had returned from striking the Amalekites, that David remained 2 days in Siklag. And it came to be on the 3rd day that, see, a man came out of the camp from Shaul, with his garments torn and dust on his head. And it came to be, when he came to David, that he fell to the ground and did obeisance. And David said to him, "From where do you come?" And he said to him, "I have escaped from the camp of Yisrael." And David said to him, "What was the matter? Please inform me." And he said, "The people have fled from the battle, and also many of the people have fallen and are dead. And Shaul and Jehonathan his son are dead too." And David said to the young man who informed him, "How do you know that Shaul and Jehonathan his son are dead?" And the young man who informed him said, "By chance I was on Mount Gilboa and saw Shaul leaning on his spear. And see, the chariots and horsemen followed hard after him. And when he looked behind him, he saw me and called to me, and I answered, 'Here I am.' And he said to me, 'Who are you?' So I answered him, 'I am an Amalekite.' And he said to me, 'Please stand over me and put me to death, for agony has seized me, but my life is still in me.' So I stood beside him and put him to death, for I knew he would not live after he had fallen. And I took the diadem that was on his head and the bracelet that was on his arm, and have brought them here to my master." And David took hold of his garments and tore them, and also all the men who were with him. And they mourned and wept, and fasted until evening for Shaul, and for Jehonathan his son, and for the people of Yahuah, and for the house of Yisrael, because they had fallen by the sword. Then David asked the young man who informed him, "Where are you from?" And he answered, "I am the son of a sojourner, an Amalekite." And David said to him, "How was it you were not afraid to stretch out your hand to destroy the anointed of Yahuah?" And David called one of the young men and said, "Draw near and fall on him." And he struck him so that he died. And David said to him, "Your blood is on your own head, for your own mouth has witnessed against you, saying, 'I myself have put to death the anointed of Yahuah.'" Then David lamented with this lamentation over Shaul and over Jehonathan his son, and he ordered the bow to be taught to the children of Yehudah. See, it is written in the book of Yasher, "The splendor of Yisrael is slain on your high places. How the mighty have fallen. Declare it not in Gath. Proclaim it not in the streets of Ashkelon, lest the daughters of the Philistines rejoice, lest the daughters of the uncircumcised exult. Mountains of Gilboa, no dew or rain be upon you, nor fields of offerings. For there the shield of the mighty lay rejected, the shield of Shaul, not anointed with oil. from the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty. The bow of Jehonathan did not turn back, and the sword of Shaul did not return empty. Shaul and Jehonathan were beloved and pleasant in their lives, and in their death they were not parted. They were swifter than eagles. They were stronger than lions. Daughters of Yisrael, weep over Shaul, who wrapped you in scarlet with finery, who decked your robes with ornaments of gold. How the mighty have fallen in the midst of the battle. Jehonathan was slain in your high places. I am distressed for you, my brother Jehonathan. You have been very pleasant to me. Your love to me was wondrous, surpassing the love of women. How the mighty have fallen, and the weapons of battle perish. And it came to be afterwards that David inquired of Yahuah, saying, Do I go up to any of the cities of Yehudah? And Yahuah said to him, Go up. And David said, Where should I go up? And he said, To Hebron. And David went up there, as well as his 2 wives, Ahinoam the Yisraelitess, and Abigail the widow of Nabal the Carmelite. And David brought up the men who were with him, each man with his household, and they dwelt in the cities of Hebron. And the men of Yehudah came, and anointed David sovereign over the house of Yehudah there. They also reported to David, saying, The men of Yabesh Gilad are they who buried Shaul. David then sent messengers to the men of Yabesh Gilad and said to them, You are blessed of Yahuah, for you have shown this loving commitment to your master, to Shaul, that you buried him. And now, Yahuah show loving commitment and truth to you. And I am also going to do you good, because you have done this deed. And now, let your hands be strengthened and be brave, for your master Shaul is dead. And also the house of Yehudah has anointed me sovereign over them. But Abner son of Ner, commander of the army of Shaul, took Ishbosheth the son of Shaul, and brought him over to Mahanaim, and set him up to reign over Gilad, and over the Asherites, and over Yisrael, and over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Yisrael. Ishbosheth, son of Shaul, was 40 years old when he began to reign over Yisrael, and he reigned 2 years. Only the house of Yehudah followed David, and the time that David was sovereign in Hebron over the house of Yehudah was 7 years and 6 new moons. And Abner son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbosheth son of Shaul, went out from Mahanaim to Gibeon, and Joab son of Seruiah, and the servants of David, went all out and met them by the pool of Gibeon. And they sat down, one on one side of the pool, and the other on the other side of the pool. And Abner said to Joab, Let the young men now rise and compete before us. And Joab said, Let them rise. And they rose and went over by number, 12 from Benjamin, followers of Ishbosheth son of Shaul, and 12 from the servants of Dawid. And each man took hold of his opponent by the head, and thrust his sword in his opponent's side, and they fell down together. So that place was called the Field of Sharp Swords, which is in Gibeon. And the battle was fierce that day. And Abner and the men of Yisrael were smitten before the servants of Dawid. And there were 3 sons of Zeruiah there, Joab and Abishai and Asahel. And Asahel was light on his feet, as one of the gazelles in the field. And Asahel pursued Abner, and in going he did not turn aside to the right or to the left from following Abner. And Abner looked behind him and said, "Are you Asahel?" And he answered, "I am." And Abner said to him, "Turn aside to your right hand or to your left, and lay hold on one of the young men, and take his armor for yourself." But Asahel would not turn aside from following him. And Abner again said to Asahel, "Turn aside from following me. Why should I strike you to the ground? How then could I face your brother Joab?" But he refused to turn aside. And Abner struck him with the blunt end of the spear in the stomach, so that the spear came out of his back, and he fell down there and died on the spot. And it came to be that as many as came to the place where Asahel fell down and died stood still, and Joab and Abishai pursued Abner. And the sun was going down, and they came to the hill of Ammah, which overlooks Giah by the way, to the wilderness of Gibeon. And the children of Benjamin gathered together behind Abner, and became a single company, and took their stand on top of a hill. And Abner called to Joab and said, "Should the sword devour forever? Do you not know that it is bitter in the latter end? And when are you going to say to the people to turn back from pursuing their brothers?" And Joab said, "As Elohim lives, if you had not spoken, then all the people would have given up pursuing their brothers only the next morning." Joab then blew with a shophar, and all the people halted and pursued Yisrael no further, nor did they fight any more. And Abner and his men went on all that night through the desert plain, and passed over the Yarden, and went through all Bithron, and they came to Mahanaim. And Joab turned back from pursuing Abner. And when he had gathered all the people together, there were missing of Dawid's servants 19 men and Asahel. But the servants of Dawid had stricken, of Benjamin and Abner's men, 360 men who died. And they brought Asahel, and buried him in his father's burial site, which was in Bethlehem. And Joab and his men went all night, and they came to Hebron at daybreak. And the fighting between the house of Shaul and the house of Dawid was long drawn out. But Dawid was going on, and was strong, and the house of Shaul was going on, and was weak. And sons were born to Dawid in Hebron, and his firstborn was Amnon by Ahinoam the Yisraelitess, and his second Kilab by Abigail, the widow of Nabal the Carmelite, and the third Absalom son of Maacah, the daughter of Talmai, sovereign of Geshur, and the fourth, Adoniah son of Haggith, and the fifth, Shephatiah son of Abital, and the sixth, Yithraam, by David's wife Eglah. These were born to David in Hebron. And it came to be, while there was fighting between the house of Shaul and the house of David, that Abner was strengthening himself in the house of Shaul. And Shaul had a concubine, whose name was Ritzbah, daughter of Aiah. And Ishbosheth said to Abner, "Why have you gone in to my father's concubine?" And Abner was very displeased at the words of Ishbosheth, and said, "Am I a dog's head that belongs to Yehudah, that I show loving commitment to the house of Shaul your father, to his brothers, and to his friends today, and have not let you fall into the hand of David, that you charge me today with a sin concerning this woman? Elohim does so to Abner, and more also, if I do not do for David as Yahuah has sworn to him, to cause the rain to pass over from the house of Shaul, and to raise up the throne of David over Yisrael and over Yehudah, from Dan to Beersheba." And he was unable to answer Abner another word, because he feared him. And Abner sent messengers on his behalf to David, saying, "Whose is the land?" saying also, "Make your covenant with me, and see, my hand is with you to bring all Yisrael to you." And David said, "Good, I make a covenant with you. Only one matter I am asking of you. You do not see my face unless you first bring Michal, daughter of Shaul, when you come to see my face." David then sent messengers to Ishbosheth, son of Shaul, saying, "Give me my wife Michal, to whom I became engaged for 100 foreskins of the Philistines." And Ishbosheth sent and took her from her husband, from Paltiel son of Laish. But her husband went with her to Bahurim, going on and weeping behind her. And Abner said to him, "Go, turn back." And he turned back. And Abner had a word with the elders of Yisrael, saying, "In time past you were seeking for David to be sovereign over you. And now do it. For Yahuah has spoken of David, saying, 'By the hand of my servant David, I save my people Yisrael from the hand of the Philistines and the hand of all their enemies.'" And Abner also spoke in the hearing of Benjamin. And Abner also went to speak in the hearing of David in Hebron, all that seemed good to Yisrael, and all the house of Benjamin. And Abner, and 20 men with him, came to David at Hebron. And David made a feast for Abner, and the men who were with him. And Abner said to David, "Let me arise and go, and gather all Yisrael to my master the sovereign, and let them make a covenant with you, and you shall reign over all that your being desires." And David sent Abner away, and he went in peace. And see, the servants of David and Joab came from a raid, and brought much spoil with them. But Abner was not with David in Hebron, for he had sent him away, and he had gone in peace. And Joab and all the army that was with him came, and they reported to Joab, saying, "Abner son of Ner came to the sovereign, and he sent him away, and he has gone in peace." And Joab went to the sovereign and said, "What have you done?" See, Abner has come to you. Why is it that you sent him away, and he has already gone? You know that Abner son of Ner came to deceive you, to know your going out and your coming in, and to know all that you are doing. Joab then left Dawid, and he sent messengers after Abner, who brought him back from the well of Sirah. But Dawid did not know it. Thus Abner returned to Hebron, and Joab took him aside in the gate to speak with him privately, and there struck him in the stomach, so that he died for the blood of Asahel his brother. And when Dawid heard it afterwards, he said, My reign and I are guiltless before Yahuah forever of the blood of Abner son of Ner. Let it rest on the head of Joab and on all his father's house, and let there never fail to be in the house of Joab one who has a discharge, or is a leper, or who is taking hold of a staff, or falls by the sword, or who lacks bread. So Joab and Abishai, his brother, killed Abner, because he had killed their brother Asahel at Gib'on in the battle. And Dawid said to Joab and to all the people who were with him, Tear your garments, gird yourselves with sackcloth, and mourn for Abner. And sovereign Dawid followed the coffin, and they buried Abner in Hebron. And the sovereign lifted up his voice and wept at the burial site of Abner. And all the people wept. And the sovereign sang a lament over Abner and said, Should Abner die as a fool dies? Your hands were not bound, nor your feet put into shackles. As one falls before sons of evil, so you fell. And all the people wept over him again. And all the people came to cause Dawid to eat food while it was still day. But Dawid swore, saying, Elohim do so to me, and more also, if I taste bread, or whatever else, till the sun goes down. And all the people took note of it, and it was good in their eyes, since whatever the sovereign did was good in the eyes of all the people. And all the people and all Yisrael knew that day that it had not been the sovereign's intent to kill Abner son of Ner. The sovereign also said to his servants, Do you not know that a prince and a great one has fallen in Yisrael today? And I am weak today, though anointed sovereign. And these men, the sons of Seruiah, are too harsh for me. Let Yahuah repay the evildoer according to his evil. And the son of Shaul heard that Abner had died in Hebron, and he lost heart. And all Yisrael was troubled. And the son of Shaul had 2 men, commanders of bands. And the name of one was Ba'anah, and the name of the other Rechab, sons of Rimmon, the Be'erothite, of the children of Binyamin. For Beeroth was also reckoned to Binyamin, because the Beerothites fled to Gittaim, and have been sojourners there until this day. Now Jehonathan, son of Shaul, had a son who was lame in his feet. He was 5 years old when the news about Shaul and Jehonathan came from Yisrael, and his nurse took him up and fled. And it came to be, as she hurried to flee, that he fell and became lame. And his name was Mephibosheth. So the sons of Rimmon, the Beerothite, Rechab and Baanah went and came at about the heat of the day to the house of Ishbosheth, who was lying on his bed at noon. And they came into the midst of the house to fetch wheat, and they struck him in the stomach. And Rechab and Baanah his brother escaped. Thus they came into the house when he was lying on his bed in his bedroom, and they struck him and slew him and beheaded him. And they took his head and went the way of the desert plain all night, and brought the head of Ishbosheth to David at Hebron, and said to the sovereign, See, the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Shaul your enemy, who sought your life. So Yahuah has given my master the sovereign vengeance on Shaul and his seed this day. And David answered Rechab and Baanah his brother, sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, and said to them, As Yahuah lives, who has ransomed my life out of all distress, when someone reported to me, saying, See, Shaul is dead. And he was a bearer of good news in his own eyes. I then took hold of him and killed him in Siklag, which was the reward I gave him for his news. How much more, when wrong men have killed a righteous man in his own house on his bed, should I not now require his blood at your hand, and remove you from the earth? And David commanded his young men, and they killed them, and cut off their hands and feet, and hanged them by the pool in Hebron. And they took the head of Ishbosheth, and buried it in the burial site of Abner in Hebron. And all the tribes of Yisrael came to David at Hebron, and spoke, saying, Look, we are your bone and your flesh. Formerly, when Shaul was sovereign over us, you were the one who led Yisrael out and brought them in. And Yahuah said to you, Shepherd my people Yisrael, and be ruler over Yisrael. And all the elders of Yisrael came to the sovereign at Hebron, and sovereign David made a covenant with them at Hebron before Yahuah. And they anointed David sovereign over Yisrael. David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years. In Hebron, he reigned over Yehudah 7 years and 6 new moons. And in Jerusalem, he reigned 33 years over all Yisrael and Yehudah. And the sovereign and his men went to Jerusalem against the Jebusites, the inhabitants of the land. And they spoke to David, saying, Except you take away the blind and the lame, you are not going to come in here. Thinking, David is not going to come in here. But David captured the stronghold of Zion, the city of David. And David said on that day, Anyone who strikes the Jebusites, let him go by the water shaft, and take the lame and the blind, who are hated by David's being. That is why they say, The blind and the lame do not come into the house. And David dwelt in the stronghold, and called it the city of David. And David built all around from the Millo and inward. And David went on, and became great. And Yahuah Elohim of hosts was with him. Now Hiram sovereign of Sor sent messengers to David, and cedar trees, and carpenters and masons. And they built a house for David. And David knew that Yahuah had established him as sovereign over Yisrael. and that he had exalted his reign because of his people Yisrael. And David took more concubines and wives from Jerusalem after he had come from Hebron, and more sons and daughters were born to David. And these were the names of those born to him in Jerusalem: Shammua, and Shobab, and Nathan, and Shelomoth, and Yibhar, and Elishua, and Nepheg, and Yaphia, and Elishama, and Eliada, and Eliphalet. And the Philistines heard that they had anointed David sovereign over Yisrael. And all the Philistines went up to search for David. But David heard and went down to the stronghold. And the Philistines came and spread themselves out in the valley of Rephaim. And David inquired of Yahuah, saying, Do I go up against the Philistines? Do you give them into my hand? And Yahuah said to David, Go up, for I shall certainly give the Philistines into your hand. And David came to Baal Perazim, and David struck them there. And he said, Yahuah has broken through my enemies before me, like a breakthrough of water. So he called the name of that place Baal Perazim, and they left their images there. And David and his men took them away. And the Philistines again came up, and were spread out in the valley of Rephaim. And when David inquired of Yahuah, he said, Do not go up, turn around behind them, and you shall come upon them in front of the mulberry trees. And it shall be, when you hear the sound of stepping in the tops of the mulberry trees, then act promptly, for then Yahuah shall go out before you to strike the camp of the Philistines. And David did so, as Yahuah commanded him, and smote the Philistines from Geba as far as Gezer. Now David again gathered all the chosen men of Yisrael, 30,000. And David rose up and went with all the people who were with him from Baale Yehudah to bring up from there the ark of Elohim, that is called by the name Yahuah of hosts, who dwells between the cherubim. And they placed the ark of Elohim on a new wagon, and brought it from the house of Abinadab, which was on the hill. And Uzzah and Ahio, sons of Abinadab, were leading the new wagon. And they brought it from the house of Abinadab, which was on the hill, with the ark of Elohim. And Ahio was walking before the ark. And David and all the house of Yisrael were dancing before Yahuah, with all instruments of fir wood, and with lyres, and with harps, and with tambourines, and with sistrums, and with cymbals. And when they came to the threshing floor of Nakon, Uzzah reached out toward the ark of Elohim and took hold of it, for the oxen stumbled. And the wrath of Yahuah burned against Uzzah, and Elohim struck him there for the fault, and he died there by the ark of Elohim. And David was displeased because Yahuah had broken out against Uzzah. And he called the name of the place Peretz Uzzah until this day. And David was afraid of Yahuah on that day, and said, How shall the ark of Yahuah come to me? And David would not move the ark of Yahuah with him into the city of David. But David turned it aside to the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. And the ark of Yahuah remained in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite 3 new moons. And Yahuah blessed Obed-Edom and all his house. And it was reported to sovereign David, saying, Yahuah has blessed the house of Obed-Edom and all that he has, because of the ark of Elohim. David then went and brought up the ark of Elohim from the house of Obed-Edom to the city of David with rejoicing. And it came to be, when those bearing the ark of Yahuah had gone 6 steps, that he slaughtered bulls and fatted sheep. And David danced before Yahuah with all his might. And David was wearing a linen shoulder garment. Thus David and all the house of Yisrael brought up the ark of Yahuah with shouting and with a voice of a shophar. And it came to be, when the ark of Yahuah came into the city of David, that Michal, daughter of Shaul, looked through a window and saw sovereign David leaping and dancing before Yahuah, and she despised him in her heart. So they brought the ark of Yahuah in, and set it in its place in the midst of the tent that David had pitched for it. And David brought ascending offerings before Yahuah, and peace offerings. And when David had finished bringing ascending offerings and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of Yahuah of hosts, and he apportioned to all the people, to all the crowd of Yisrael, from man even to women, to each one a loaf of bread, and a measure, and a cake of raisins. And all the people left, each one to his house. And David returned to bless his household. And Michal, the daughter of Shaul, came out to meet David, and said, How esteemed was the sovereign of Yisrael today, uncovering himself today in the eyes of the female servants of his servants, as one of the foolish ones shamelessly uncovers himself. So David said to Michal, Before Yahuah, who chose me instead of your father and all his house, commanded me to be ruler over the people of Yahuah, over Yisrael. So I danced before Yahuah. And I shall be even more slight than this, and shall be humble in my own eyes. But as for the female servants of whom you have spoken, by them I am esteemed. And Michal, the daughter of Shaul, had no children to the day of her death. And it came to be, when the sovereign was dwelling in his house, and Yahuah had given him rest from all his enemies all around, that the sovereign said to Nathan the prophet, See now, I am dwelling in a house of cedar, but the ark of Elohim dwells within curtains. And Nathan said to the sovereign, Go, do all that is in your heart, for Yahuah is with you. And it came to be that night that the word of Yahuah came to Nathan, saying, Go and say to my servant David, Thus said Yahuah, Would you build a house for me to dwell in? For I have not dwelt in a house since the time that I brought the children of Yisrael up from Mitzrayim, even to this day, but have moved about in a tent and in a dwelling place. Wherever I have walked with all the children of Yisrael, have I ever spoken a word to anyone from the tribes of Yisrael, whom I commanded to shepherd my people Yisrael, saying, Why have you not built me a house of cedar? And now, say to my servant David, Thus said Yahuah of hosts, I took you from the pasture, from following the flock, to be ruler over my people, over Yisrael. And I have been with you wherever you have gone, and have cut off all your enemies from before you, and have made you a great name, like the name of the great ones who are on the earth. And I shall appoint a place for my people Yisrael, and shall plant them, and they shall dwell in a place of their own, and no longer be afraid. Neither shall the children of wickedness oppress them again, as at the first, even from the day I commanded rulers over my people Yisrael, and have caused you to rest from all your enemies. And Yahuah has declared to you that he would make you a house. When your days are filled, and you rest with your fathers, I shall raise up your seed after you, who comes from your inward parts, and shall establish his reign. He does build a house for my name, and I shall establish the throne of his reign forever. I am to be his father, and he is my son. If he does perversely, I shall reprove him with the rod of men, and with the blows of the sons of men. But my loving commitment does not turn aside from him, as I turned it aside from Shaul, whom I removed from before you. And your house and your reign are to be steadfast forever before you. Your throne is established forever. According to all these words, and according to all this vision, so Nathan spoke to David. And sovereign David went in and sat before Yahuah, and he said, Who am I, O Master Yahuah? And what is my house, that you have brought me this far? And yet this was a small matter in your eyes, O Master Yahuah. And you have also spoken of your servant's house for a great while to come. And is this the Torah of man, O Master Yahuah? And what more does David say to you? For you, Master Yahuah, know your servant, because of your word, and according to your own heart. You have done all this greatness, to make it known to your servant. You are great indeed, O Master Yahuah, for there is none like you, and there is no Elohim but you, according to all that we have heard with our ears. And who is like your people, like Yisrael, the one nation on the earth, whom Elohim went to ransom for himself as a people, to make for himself a name, and to do for you greatness, and awesome deeds for your land before your people, whom you ransomed for yourself from Mitzrayim, from the nations and their mighty ones. And you have established for yourself your people Yisrael as your own people forever, and you, Yahuah, have become their Elohim. And now, O Yahuah Elohim, the word which you have spoken concerning your servant and concerning his house, establish it forever, and do as you have said. And let your name be made great forever, saying, Yahuah of hosts is the Elohim over Yisrael. And let the house of your servant David be established before you. For you, O Yahuah of hosts, the Elohim of Yisrael, have revealed this to your servant, saying, I build you a house. Therefore, your servant has taken heart to pray this prayer to you. And now, O Master Yahuah, you are Elohim, and your words are true, and you have spoken this goodness to your servant. And now, be pleased to bless the house of your servant, to be before you forever. For you, O Master Yahuah, have spoken it, and with your blessing, let the house of your servant be blessed forever. And after this, it came to be that Dawid struck the Philistines and humbled them. And Dawid took the bridle of the mother city out of the hand of the Philistines. He also struck Moab and measured them off with a line, causing them to lie down on the earth. With 2 lines he measured off those to be put to death, and with 1 complete line those to be kept alive. And the Moabites became Dawid's servants and brought presents. Dawid also struck Hadadezer, son of Rehob, sovereign of Sobah, as he went to restore his rule at the river Euphrates. And Dawid captured from him 1,700 horsemen and 20,000 foot soldiers. And Dawid destroyed all the chariots, but he left of them 100 chariots. And the Arameans of Damasek came to help Hadadezer, sovereign of Sobah, and Dawid struck 22,000 of the Arameans. Then Dawid put watchposts in Aram of Damasek, and the Arameans became Dawid's servants and brought presents. And Yahuah saved Dawid wherever he went. And Dawid took the shields of gold which were on the servants of Hadadezer and brought them to Jerusalem, and from Betah, and from Berothai, cities of Hadadezer. Sovereign Dawid took very much bronze. And Toi, sovereign of Hamath, heard that Dawid had stricken all the army of Hadadezer. So Toi sent Joram his son to sovereign Dawid to ask peace of him and bless him, because he had fought against Hadadezer and struck him, for Hadadezer had battles with Toi. And Joram brought with him objects of silver, and objects of gold, and objects of bronze. Sovereign Dawid also set these apart to Yahuah, along with the silver and gold that he had set apart from all the nations which he had humbled, from Aram, and from Moab, and from the children of Ammon, and from the Philistines, and from Amalek, and from the spoil of Hadadezer, son of Rehob, sovereign of Zobah. And Dawid made a name for himself when he returned from striking 18,000 Arameans in the valley of Salt, and he put watchposts in Edom. Throughout all Edom he put watchposts, and all the Edomites became Dawid's servants. And Yahuah saved Dawid wherever he went. And Dawid reigned over all Yisrael. And Dawid was doing right ruling and righteousness to all his people. And Joab, son of Zeruiah, was over the army. And Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud, was recorder. And Sadok, son of Ahitub, and Ahimelech, son of Ebiathar, were the priests. And Sariah was the scribe. And Benayahu, son of Jehoiada, was over both the Kerethites and the Pelethites. And Dawid's sons were priests. And Dawid said, "Is there still anyone who is left of the house of Shaul, that I might show him loving commitment because of Jehonathan?" And the house of Shaul had a servant whose name was Tsiba. And they had called him to Dawid. And the sovereign said to him, "Are you Tsiba?" And he said, "Your servant." And the sovereign said, "Is there not still someone of the house of Shaul, so that I show him the loving commitment of Elohim?" And Tsiba said to the sovereign, "There is still a son of Jehonathan, lame in his feet." So the sovereign said to him, "Where is he?" And Tsiba said to the sovereign, "See, he is in the house of Machir, son of Amiel, in Lo Debar." And sovereign Dawid sent and brought him out of the house of Machir, son of Ammiel, from Lodebar. And Mephibosheth, son of Jehonathan, son of Shaul, came to Dawid, and fell on his face, and did obeisance. And Dawid said, Mephibosheth. And he answered, Here is your servant. Dawid then said to him, Do not fear, for I shall certainly show you loving commitment because of Jehonathan your father, and shall return to you all the land of Shaul your grandfather, and let you eat bread at my table continually. And he bowed himself and said, What is your servant, that you should turn to such a dead dog as I? And the sovereign called Ziba, servant of Shaul, and said to him, I have given to your master's son all that belonged to Shaul and to all his house. And you and your sons and your servants shall work the land for him, and you shall bring in its yield, and your master's son shall have food to eat. But let Mephibosheth, your master's son, eat bread at my table always. And Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. And Ziba said to the sovereign, According to all that my master, the sovereign, has commanded his servant, so your servant does. As for Mephibosheth, said the sovereign, he shall eat at my table as one of the sons of the sovereign. And Mephibosheth had a young son whose name was Micah. And all who dwelt in the house of Ziba were servants of Mephibosheth. And Mephibosheth was dwelling in Jerusalem, for he ate continually at the sovereign's table, and he was lame in both his feet. And after this it came to be that the sovereign of the children of Ammon died, and Hanun his son reigned in his place. And Dawid said, Let me show loving commitment to Hanun son of Nahash, as his father showed loving commitment to me. So Dawid sent by the hand of his servants to comfort him concerning his father. And when David's servants came into the land of the children of Ammon, the chiefs of the children of Ammon said to Hanun, their master, Is Dawid esteeming your father in your eyes, in that he has sent comforters to you? Has David not rather sent his servants to you to search the city, and to spy it out, and to overthrow it? So Hanun took David's servants, and shaved off half of their beards, and cut off their garments in the middle, as far as their buttocks, and sent them away. And they informed Dawid, and he sent to meet them, because the men were greatly ashamed. And the sovereign said, Wait at Jericho until your beards have grown, and then return. And when the children of Ammon saw that they had become a stench to Dawid, the children of Ammon sent and hired Arameans of Beth Rehob and Arameans of Soba, 20,000 foot soldiers, and the sovereign of Maacah, 1,000 men, and men of Tob, 12,000 men. And Dawid heard, and sent Joab and the entire army, the mighty men. And the children of Ammon came out and put themselves in battle array at the entrance of the gate. And the Arameans of Soba and Rehob and men of Tob and Maacah were by themselves in the field. And Joab saw that the battle line was against him before and behind, and he chose out of all the chosen men of Israel and put them in battle array against the Arameans. And the rest of the people he gave under the hand of Abishai his brother, and he put them in battle array against the children of Ammon. And he said, If the Arameans are too strong for me, then you shall help me. But if the children of Ammon are too strong for you, then I shall come and help you. Be strong, and let us show strength for our people and for the cities of our Elohim. And let Yahuah do what is good in his eyes. And Joab drew near, and the people with him, to battle against Aram. And they fled before him. And when the children of Ammon saw that the Arameans were fleeing, they also fled before Abishai, and went into the city. And Joab returned from the children of Ammon, and came to Jerusalem. And Aram saw that they were smitten before Yisrael, and they gathered together. And Hadadezer sent and brought out the Arameans who were beyond the river, and they came to Helam. And Shobak, the commander of the army of Hadadezer, went before them. And it was reported to David, and he gathered all Yisrael, and passed over the Yarden, and came to Helam. And Aram set themselves in battle array against David, and they fought with him. And Aram fled before Yisrael, and David killed 700 charioteers, and 40,000 horsemen of Aram. And he struck Shobak, commander of their army, who died there. And all the sovereigns, the servants of Hadadezer, saw that they were smitten by Yisrael, and made peace with Yisrael, and served them. And the Arameans were afraid to help the children of Ammon any more. And it came to be at the turn of the year, at the time sovereigns go out to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him, and all Yisrael, and they destroyed the children of Ammon, and besieged Rabbah. But David remained at Jerusalem. And it came to be, at evening time, that David rose up from his bed, and walked about on the roof of the sovereign's house. And from the roof he saw a woman bathing, and the woman was very good to look at. And David sent and asked about the woman, and one said, Is this not Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? And David sent messengers to fetch her. And she came to him, and he lay with her, for she was cleansing herself from her uncleanness. And she returned to her house. And the woman conceived, and sent and informed David, and said, I am pregnant. Then David sent to Joab, Send Uriah the Hittite to me. And Joab sent Uriah to David. And Uriah came to him. And David asked how Joab was doing, and how the people were doing, and how the fighting was going. And David said to Uriah, Go down to your house and wash your feet. And Uriah went out from the sovereign's house, and a gift from the sovereign followed him. But Uriah lay down at the door of the sovereign's house with all the servants of his master, and did not go down to his house. And they informed David, saying, Uriah did not go down to his house. So David said to Uriah, Did you not come from a journey? Why did you not go down to your house? And Uriah said to David, The ark and Yisrael and Yehudah are dwelling in booths, and my master Joab and the servants of my master are encamped in the open fields. And should I go to my house to eat and to drink, and to lie with my wife. As you live, and as your being lives, let me not do this." And Dawid said to Uriah, "Remain here today also, and tomorrow I let you go." So Uriah remained in Jerusalem that day and the next. And Dawid called him, and he ate and drank before him, and he made him drunk. And at evening he went out to lie on his bed with the servants of his master. But he did not go down to his house. And it came to be in the morning that Dawid wrote a letter to Joab and sent it by the hand of Uriah. And he wrote in the letter, saying, "Set Uriah in the front of the toughest battle, and you shall turn away from him, and he shall be stricken and shall die." And it came to be, as Joab watched the city, that he appointed Uriah to the place where he knew there were brave men. And the men of the city came out and fought with Joab, and some of the people of the servants of Dawid fell. And Uriah the Hittite also died. And Joab sent and reported to Dawid all the events of the battle, and commanded the messenger, saying, "When you have finished reporting all the events of the battle to the sovereign, then it shall be, if the sovereign's wrath rises, and he says to you, 'Why did you go so near to the city when you fought? Did you not know that they would shoot from the wall? Who struck Abimelech the son of Jerubbesheth? Was it not a woman who threw an upper millstone on him from the wall, so that he died in Thebez? Why did you go near the wall?' Then you shall say, 'Your servant Uriah the Hittite is also dead.'" And the messenger went and came and reported to Dawid all with which Joab had sent him. And the messenger said to Dawid, "The men have been mighty against us, and came out to us in the field, but we drove them back as far as the entrance of the gate, and the archers shot from the wall at your servants. And some of the sovereign's servants are dead, and your servant Uriah the Hittite is also dead." And Dawid said to the messenger, "Say to Joab, do not let this matter be evil in your eyes, for the sword devours one as well as another. Strengthen your attack against the city and overthrow it, and strengthen him." And the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah, her husband, was dead, and she lamented for her husband. And when her mourning was over, Dawid sent and brought her to his house, and she became his wife, and bore him a son. But the deed that Dawid had done was evil in the eyes of Yahuah. Then Yahuah sent Nathan to Dawid, and he came to him and said to him, "There were two men in one city, one rich and the other poor. The rich one had flocks and herds, very many. But the poor one had only one little ewe lamb which he had bought and kept alive. And it grew up with him and with his children together. It ate of his own food and drank from his own cup and lay in his bosom, and it was like a daughter to him. And a traveller came to the rich man, who refused to take from his own flock and from his own herd, to prepare one for the wayfaring man who had come to him. But he took the poor man's lamb and prepared it for the man who had come to him. And the wrath of Dawid burned greatly against the man, and he said to Nathan, "As Yahuah lives, the man who has done this is a son of death. Also, he has to repay fourfold for the lamb, because he did this deed, and because he had no compassion. Then Nathan said to David, "You are the man. Thus said Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, I anointed you sovereign over Yisrael, and I delivered you from the hand of Shaul. And I gave you your master's house and your master's wives into your bosom, and gave you the house of Yisrael and Yehudah. And if that were not enough, I also would have given you much more. Why have you despised the word of Yahuah to do evil in his eyes? You have struck Uriah the Hittite with the sword, and his wife you took to be your wife, and you have killed him with the sword of the children of Ammon. And now the sword does not turn aside from your house, because you have despised me, and have taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your wife. Thus said Yahuah, See, I am raising up evil against you from your own house, and shall take your wives before your eyes, and give them to your neighbor, and he shall lie with your wives in the sight of this sun. For you did it in secret, but I shall do this deed before all Yisrael, and before the sun. And David said to Nathan, I have sinned against Yahuah. And Nathan said to David, Also, Yahuah has put away your sin. You shall not die. However, because by this deed you have greatly scorned Yahuah, the child also who is born to you shall certainly die. And Nathan went to his house, and Yahuah smote the child that Uriah's wife had borne to David, and he was sick. And David sought Elohim for the child. And David fasted, and went in, and spent all night lying on the ground. So the elders of his house stood up over him, to raise him up from the earth. But he would not, nor did he eat food with them. And on the 7th day it came to be that the child died. And the servants of David were afraid to inform him that the child was dead. For they said, Look, while the child was still alive, we spoke to him, and he would not listen to our voice. And how do we say to him that the child is dead? Then he shall do evil. And David saw that his servants were whispering. And David perceived that the child was dead. Then David said to his servants, Is the child dead? And they said, He is dead. David then rose up from the ground, and washed and anointed himself, and changed his garments. And he went into the house of Yahuah, and bowed himself. Then came to his own house, and asked. And they set food before him, so he ate. And his servants said to him, What is this that you have done? You fasted and wept because of the living child. But when the child died, you rose up and ate food. And he said, While the child was alive, I fasted and wept. For I said, Who knows whether Yahuah shows favor unto me, and the child shall live? But now he is dead. Why should I fast? Am I able to bring him back again? I am going to him, but he does not return to me. And David comforted Bathsheba his wife, and went into her, and lay with her. So she bore a son, and he called his name Shelomoh. And Yahuah loved him, and sent by the hand of Nathan the prophet, and called his name Yedidiah, because of Yahuah. And Joab fought against Rabbah of the children of Ammon, and captured the royal city. And Joab sent messengers to David, and said, I have fought against Rabbah, and I have captured the city's water supply. And now gather the rest of the people together, and encamp against the city, and capture it, lest I capture the city, and it be called after my name. And David gathered all the people and went to Rabbah, and fought against it, and captured it. And he took their sovereign's crown from his head, and its weight was a talent of gold, with precious stones, and it was on David's head. And he brought out the spoil of the city, a very great amount. And he brought out the people who were in it, and set them to the saw, and to sharp instruments of iron, and to axes of iron, and made them pass over to the brickworks. And so he did with all the cities of the children of Ammon. And David and all the people returned to Jerusalem. And after this it came to be that Absalom son of David had a beautiful sister, whose name was Tamar. And Amnon son of David loved her. And Amnon was distressed, even to become sick, because of his sister Tamar, for she was a maiden. And it was hard in the eyes of Amnon to do whatever to her. And Amnon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, son of Shimah, David's brother. Now Jonadab was a very wise man, and he said to him, Why are you, the sovereign's son, becoming thinner day after day? Explain it to me. And Amnon said to him, I love Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister. And Jonadab said to him, Lie down on your bed and pretend to be sick. And when your father comes to see you, say to him, Please let my sister Tamar come and give me food, and make the food before my eyes so that I see it, and eat it from her hand. So Amnon lay down and pretended to be sick. And when the sovereign came to see him, Amnon said to the sovereign, Please let Tamar my sister come and make a couple of cakes for me before my eyes, so that I eat from her hand. And David sent to Tamar, to the house, saying, Please go to the house of your brother Amnon, and make food for him. So Tamar went to her brother Amnon's house, while he was lying down. And she took dough and kneaded it, and made cakes before his eyes, and baked the cakes. And she took the pan and turned them out before him. But he refused to eat. And Amnon said, Make everyone go away from me. And they all went out from him. And Amnon said to Tamar, Bring the food into the bedroom, that I eat from your hand. And Tamar took the cakes which she had made, and brought them to Amnon her brother in the bedroom. And she brought them to him to eat. And he took hold of her, and said to her, Come, lie with me, my sister. And she answered him, No, my brother, do not humble me, for it is not done so in Israel. Do not do this wickedness. And I, where could I take my shame? And you, you would be like one of the fools in Yisrael. And now, please speak to the sovereign, for he would not withhold me from you. But he would not listen to her voice. And being stronger than she, he humbled her and lay with her. Amnon then hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred with which he hated her was greater than the love with which he had loved her. And Amnon said to her, "Arise, go." And she said to him, "No, for this evil of sending me away is worse than the other you have done to me." But he would not listen to her. And he called his young man serving him and said, "Now, put this one out, away from me, and bolt the door behind her." And she had on a long coat, for the sovereign's maiden daughters wore such garments. And his servant put her out and bolted the door behind her. And Tamar put ashes on her head and tore her long coat that was on her, and put her hand on her head, and went away crying bitterly. And Absalom her brother said to her, "Has Amnon your brother been with you? But now, keep silent, my sister. He is your brother. Do not take this matter to heart." So Tamar remained in the house of her brother Absalom, but was ruined. And sovereign David heard all these reports, and he was very wroth. And Absalom spoke to his brother Amnon neither good nor evil. For Absalom hated Amnon, because he had humbled his sister Tamar. And it came to be, after 2 years, that Absalom had sheep shearers in Baal Hatzor, which is beside Ephraim. And Absalom invited all the sons of the sovereign. And Absalom came to the sovereign and said, "See, your servant has sheep shearers. Please, let the sovereign and his servants go with your servant." But the sovereign said to Absalom, "No, my son, let us not all go now, lest we be too heavy on you." And he urged him, but he would not go. And he blessed him. And Absalom said, "If not, please let my brother Amnon go with us." And the sovereign said to him, "Why should he go with you?" And Absalom urged him, so he let Amnon and all the sons of the sovereign go with him. And Absalom had commanded his servants, saying, "Watch. And when the heart of Amnon is glad with wine, and I shall say to you, 'Strike Amnon,' then kill him. Do not be afraid. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and brave." Then the servants of Absalom did to Amnon as Absalom had commanded. Then all the sons of the sovereign rose up, and each one mounted his mule and fled. And it came to be, while they were on the way, that news came to David, saying, "Absalom has stricken all the sons of the sovereign, and not one of them is left." And the sovereign rose up and tore his garments, and lay on the ground. And all his servants stood by with their garments torn. And Jonadab, son of Shimah, David's brother, answered and said, "Do not let my master say they have killed all the young men, the sons of the sovereign, for only Amnon is dead. For by the mouth of Absalom this has been appointed from the day that he humbled his sister Tamar. And now, let not my master the sovereign take the matter to his heart, to think that all the sons of the sovereign are dead, for only Amnon is dead." And Absalom fled. And the young man who was watching lifted up his eyes and looked, and saw many people were coming from the way behind him, on the side of the hill. Then Jonadab said to the sovereign, "Look, the sons of the sovereign are coming. As your servant said, so it is." And it came to be, as soon as he had finished speaking, that look, the sons of the sovereign came, and they lifted up their voice and wept, and the sovereign too, and all his servants wept very bitterly. But Absalom fled and went to Talmai, son of Ammihud, sovereign of Geshur. And David mourned for his son all the days. So Absalom fled and went to Geshur, and was there 3 years. Sovereign David then longed to go to Absalom, for he had been comforted concerning Amnon, because he was dead. And Joab, son of Zeruiah, knew that the heart of the sovereign was towards Absalom. And Joab sent to Tekoa, and brought from there a wise woman, and said to her, "Please pretend to be a mourner, and put on mourning garments, and do not anoint yourself with oil, but act like a woman who has been mourning a long time for the dead. Then you shall go to the sovereign and speak to him according to this word." And Joab put the words in her mouth. And when the woman of Tekoa spoke to the sovereign, she fell on her face to the ground and did obeisance, and said, "Save, O sovereign." And the sovereign said to her, "What is your trouble?" And she answered, "Truly I am a widow. My husband is dead, and your female servant had 2 sons, and the 2 fought with each other in the field, and there was no one to part them. But the one struck the other and killed him. And see, the entire clan has risen up against your female servant and said, 'Give him who struck his brother, so that we put him to death for the life of his brother, whom he killed, and destroy the heir also.' Thus they would extinguish my burning coal that is left, and leave to my husband neither name nor remnant on the earth." And the sovereign said to the woman, "Go to your house, and let me give commands concerning you." And the woman of Tekoa said to the sovereign, "My master, O sovereign, let the crookedness be on me and on my father's house, and the sovereign and his throne be guiltless." And the sovereign said, "Whoever speaks to you, bring him to me, and let him no longer touch you." And she said, "Please, let the sovereign remember Yahuah your Elohim, and the Redeemer of blood not destroy any more, lest they destroy my son." And he said, "As Yahuah lives, not one hair of your son shall fall to the ground." And the woman said, "Please, let your female servant speak a word to my master the sovereign." And he said, "Speak." And the woman said, "And why have you reasoned like this against the people of Elohim? For in speaking this word, the sovereign is as one who is guilty, in that the sovereign does not bring his outcast one home again. For we shall certainly die and become like water spilled on the ground, which is not gathered up again. Yet Elohim does not take away a life, but shall devise ways, so that his outcast ones are not cast out from him. And now I have come to speak this word to my master, the sovereign, because the people have made me afraid. And your female servant said, please let me speak to the sovereign. It could be that the sovereign does what his female servant asks. For the sovereign has listened to deliver his female servant from the hand of the man seeking to destroy me and my son together from the inheritance of Elohim. Then your female servant said, please let the word of my master, the sovereign, be comforting. For my master, the sovereign, is as the messenger of Elohim in discerning the good and the evil. And Yahuah, your Elohim, is with you. And the sovereign answered and said to the woman, please do not hide from me the matter that I am asking you. And the woman said, please let my master, the sovereign, speak. And the sovereign said, is the hand of Joab with you in all this? And the woman answered and said, as your being lives, my master the sovereign, no one turns to the right or to the left from all that my master the sovereign has spoken. For your servant Joab commanded me, and he put all these words in the mouth of your female servant. Your servant Joab has done this to change the appearance of the matter. But my master is wise, according to the wisdom of a messenger of Elohim, to know all that is in the earth. And the sovereign said to Joab, see now, you shall do this matter, and go, bring back the young man Absalom. And Joab fell to the ground on his face, and did obeisance, and blessed the sovereign. And Joab said, today your servant knows that I have found favor in your eyes, my master, O sovereign, in that the sovereign has done the word of his servant. And Joab rose up and went to Geshur, and brought Absalom to Jerusalem. And the sovereign said, let him return to his own house, but do not let him see my face. And Absalom went to his own house, and did not see the sovereign's face. And in all Yisrael there was no one who was praised as much as Absalom for his handsomeness. From the sole of his foot to the crown of his head, there was no blemish in him. And when he cut the hair of his head, for it was at every year's end that he cut it because it was heavy on him, when he cut it, he weighed the hair of his head at 200 shekels by the sovereign's weight. And to Absalom were born 3 sons and 1 daughter, whose name was Tamar. She was a woman of beautiful appearance. And Absalom dwelt in Jerusalem 2 years. And he had not seen the sovereign's face. Then Absalom sent for Joab to send him to the sovereign, but he would not come to him. And he sent again the 2nd time, but he would not come. And he said to his servants, see, Joab's field is near mine, and he has barley there. Go and set it on fire. And Absalom's servants set the field on fire. Then Joab rose up and came to the house of Absalom, and said to him, why have your servants set my field on fire? And Absalom said to Joab, look, I sent to you, saying, come here, so that I send you to the sovereign, to say, why have I come from Geshur? It was good for me while I was there. And now, let me see the sovereign's face, and if there is any crookedness in me, then you shall put me to death." Joab then went to the sovereign and informed him, and he called for Absalom, and he came to the sovereign and bowed himself on his face to the ground before the sovereign. Then the sovereign kissed Absalom, and it came to be after this that Absalom prepared a chariot and horses for himself, and 50 men to run before him. And Absalom used to rise early and stand beside the way to the gate. And it came to be, whenever anyone who had a complaint came to the sovereign for a right ruling, that Absalom would call to him and say, "What city are you from?" And when he said, "Your servant is from me such and such a tribe of Yisrael," Absalom would say to him, "Look, your matters are good and right, but you have nobody from the sovereign to hear you." And Absalom would say, "Oh, that I were made judge in the land." And everyone who has any complaint or case would come to me, and I shall let right be done to him. And it came to be, whenever anyone came near him to bow down to him, that he would put out his hand and take hold of him and kiss him. And Absalom did this to all Yisrael who came to the sovereign for right ruling. And Absalom stole the hearts of the men of Yisrael. And it came to be at the end of 40 years that Absalom said to the sovereign, "Please, let me go to Hebron and pay the vow which I vowed to Yahuah. For your servant vowed a vow while I dwelt at Gesher in Aram, saying, if Yahuah indeed brings me back to Jerusalem, then I shall serve Yahuah." And the sovereign said to him, "Go in peace." And he rose up and went to Hebron. But Absalom sent spies throughout all the tribes of Yisrael, saying, "As soon as you hear the voice of the shophar, then you shall say, 'Absalom is sovereign in Hebron.'" And with Absalom went 200 men from Jerusalem who were invited, and they went along unsuspectingly, and did not know the matter at all. Absalom also sent for Ahithophel the Gilonite, counselor of David, from his city, from Gilo, while he slaughtered slaughterings. And it came to be that the conspiracy became potent, for the people with Absalom kept increasing. Then a messenger came to David, saying, "The hearts of the men of Yisrael are with Absalom." And David said to all his servants who were with him at Jerusalem, "Rise up and let us flee, for none of us shall escape from Absalom. Go in haste, lest he overtake us quickly and bring evil upon us, and strike the city with the edge of the sword." And the sovereign's servants said to the sovereign, "Look, your servants shall do according to all my master, the sovereign chooses." And the sovereign went out, and all his household at his feet. But the sovereign left 10 women, concubines, to look after the house. So the sovereign went out, and all the people at his feet, and they stood still at the last house. And all his servants were passing on at his side, and all the Kerethites, and all the Pelethites, and all the Gittites, 600 men who had followed him from Gath, were passing on before the sovereign. And the sovereign said to Ittai the Gittite, "Why do you go, you also, with us? Turn back and remain with the sovereign, for you are a foreigner, and also an exile from your own place." You came yesterday, and should I today make you wander up and down with us when I am going wherever I am going? Return and take your brothers back. Loving commitment and truth be with you. And Ittai answered the sovereign and said, As Yahuah lives, and as my master the sovereign lives, in whatever place my master the sovereign is, whether in death or life, let your servant also be there. Therefore Dawid said to Ittai, Go and pass over. And Ittai the Gittite and all his men and all the little ones who were with him passed over. And all the land was weeping with a loud voice, and all the people were passing over. And the sovereign himself was passing over the Wadi Kidron, and all the people were passing over toward the way of the wilderness. And see, Tzadok also came, and all the Levites with him, bearing the ark of the covenant of Elohim. And they set down the ark of Elohim. And Abiathar went up until all the people completed passing over from the city. And the sovereign said to Tzadok, Take the ark of Elohim back to the city. If I find favor in the eyes of Yahuah, then he shall bring me back and show me both it and his dwelling. But if he says thus, I have not delighted in you, here I am. Let him do to me as seems good in his eyes.
And the sovereign said to Tzadok the priest, Are you not a seer? Return to the city in peace, and your 2 sons with you, Ahimaaz your son, and Jehonathan son of Abiathar.
See, I am waiting in the desert plains of the wilderness until word comes from you to inform me. And Tzadok and Abiathar took the ark of Elohim back to Jerusalem, and they remained there. And Dawid went up by the ascent of the Mount of Olives, and wept as he went up. And he had his head covered, and went barefoot. And all the people who were with him covered their heads and went up, weeping as they went up. And Dawid was informed, saying, Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom. And Dawid said, O Yahuah, I pray you, make the counsel of Ahithophel foolish. And it came to be that Dawid came to the summit, where he bowed himself before Elohim, and saw Hushai the Archite, coming to meet him with his robe torn and dust on his head. And Dawid said to him, If you pass on with me, then you shall become a burden to me. But if you return to the city, and say to Absalom, I am your servant, O sovereign, once servant of your father, but now I am your servant, then you shall nullify the counsel of Ahithophel for me. And are not Tzadok and Abiathar the priests with you there? And it shall be that every matter you hear from the sovereign's house, you should report to Tzadok and Abiathar the priests. See, there with them are their 2 sons, Ahimaaz, Tzadok's son, and Jehonathan, Abiathar's son. And by them you shall send me every matter you hear. And Hushai, Dawid's friend, went into the city, and Absalom came into Jerusalem, and Dawid had passed on a little from the summit, and saw Seba, the servant of Mephibosheth, who met him with a couple of saddled donkeys, and on them 200 loaves, and 100 cakes of raisins, and 100 summer fruit, and a skin of wine. And the sovereign said to Ziba, "Why do you have these?" And Ziba said, "The donkeys are for the sovereign's household to ride on, and the bread and summer fruit for the young men to eat, and the wine for the wearied to drink in the wilderness." And the sovereign said, "And where is the son of your master?" And Ziba said to the sovereign, "See, he remains in Jerusalem, for he said, 'Today the house of Yisrael is going to return the reign of my father to me." And the sovereign said to Ziba, "See, all that belongs to Mephibosheth is yours." And Ziba said, "I have bowed myself. Let me find favor in your eyes, my master, O sovereign." And when sovereign David came to Bahurim, he saw a man from the clan of the house of Shaul, whose name was Shimei, son of Gera, coming from there. He came out, cursing as he came, and he pelted with stones David and all the servants of sovereign David, and all the people and all the mighty men were on his right and on his left. And this is what Shimei said as he cursed, get out, O man of blood and man of Belial. Yahuah has brought upon you all the blood of the house of Shaul, in whose place you have reigned. And Yahuah has given the reign into the hand of Absalom your son. And see, you are in your own evil, for you are a man of blood. And Abishai, son of Zeruiah, said to the sovereign, why should this dead dog curse my master the sovereign? Please, let me pass over and take off his head. And the sovereign said, what have I to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah? For let him curse, even because Yahuah has said to him, curse David. And who should say, why did you do that? And David said to Abishai and all his servants, see how my son who came from my own body seeks my life, and how much more now this Binyamite. Leave him alone and let him curse, for Yahuah has spoken to him. If so be, Yahuah does look on my affliction, and Yahuah shall return good to me for his cursing today. And as David and his men went in the way, Shimei walked alongside him on the hillside, and cursed as he went, and threw stones at him, and kicked up dust. And the sovereign and all the people who were with him became weary, and they refreshed themselves there. And Absalom and all the people, the men of Yisrael, came to Jerusalem, and Ahithophel was with him. And it came to be, when Hushai the Archite, the friend of David, had come to Absalom, that Hushai said to Absalom, let the sovereign live, let the sovereign live. And Absalom said to Hushai, is this your loving commitment to your friend? Why did you not go with your friend? And Hushai said to Absalom, no, I am for the one whom Yahuah and this people and all the men of Yisrael have chosen, and with him I remain. And besides, whom should I serve? Should it not be before his son? As I have served before your father, so I am before you. And Absalom said to Ahithophel, give your advice, What should we do? And Ahithophel said to Absalom, Go in to your father's concubines, whom he has left to look after the house. And all Yisrael shall hear that you have made yourself a stench to your father. And the hands of all who are with you shall be strong. So they pitched a tent for Absalom on the top of the house. And Absalom went in to his father's concubines before the eyes of all Yisrael. Now the advice Ahithophel gave in those days was as if one had inquired at the word of Elohim. So was all the advice of Ahithophel, both to David and to Absalom. And Ahithophel said to Absalom, Please, let me choose 12,000 men, and let me arise and pursue David tonight, and come upon him while he is weary and weak. And I shall make him afraid, and all the people who are with him shall flee. And I shall strike the sovereign alone, and bring back all the people to you. When all return, except the man whom you seek, all the people should be at peace. And the saying pleased Absalom and all the elders of Yisrael. But Absalom said, Now call Hushai the Archite also, and let us hear what he says too. And Hushai came to Absalom, and Absalom spoke to him, saying, Ahithophel has spoken according to this word. Should we do as he says? If not, speak up. And Hushai said to Absalom, The advice that Ahithophel has given is not good at this time. And Hushai said, You know your father and his men, that they are mighty men, and they are as bitter in being as a bear robbed of her cubs in the field. And your father is a man of battle, and would not spend the night with the people. See, by now he is hidden in some pit or in some place. And it shall be, when some of them fall at the first, that whoever hears it shall say, There has been a slaughter among the people who are following Absalom. And even he who is brave, whose heart is like the heart of a lion, would utterly melt. For all Yisrael knows that your father is a mighty man, and those who are with him are brave men. But I advise, let all Yisrael without fail be gathered to you, from Dan to Beersheba, as numerous as the sand by the sea, and that you yourself go to battle. And we shall come upon him in some place where he is found, and fall on him as the dew falls on the ground. And there shall be left of him, and of all the men with him, not even one. And if he withdraws into a city, then all Yisrael shall bring ropes to that city, and we shall pull it into the wadi, until there is not one small stone found there. Absalom and all the men of Yisrael then said, The advice of Hushai the Archite is better than the advice of Ahithophel. For Yahuah had ordained to nullify the good advice of Ahithophel, for the sake of Yahuah bringing evil upon Absalom. Hushai then said to Tzadok and to Abiathar the priests, Ahithophel has advised Absalom and the elders of Yisrael such and such, but I have advised so and so. And now send hastily and inform David, saying, Do not spend this night in the desert plains of the wilderness, but pass over without fail, lest the sovereign and all the people with him be swallowed up. And Jehonathan and Ahimaaz were stationed at On Rogel, and a female servant would come and inform them, and they would go and inform Sovereign Dawid, for they could not be seen entering the city. But a youth saw them and informed Absalom. So the two of them went away at once and came to a man's house in Bahurim, who had a well in his courtyard, and they went down into it. And the woman took and spread a covering over the well's mouth, and spread ground grain on it. So the matter was not known. And the servants of Absalom came to the woman at the house and said, "Where are Ahimaaz and Jehonathan?" And the woman said to them, "They have passed over the stream of water." And they looked and did not find them, and returned to Jerusalem. And it came to be, after they had left, that they came up out of the well and went and informed Sovereign Dawid, and said to Dawid, "Arise and pass over the water quickly, for thus Ahithophel has advised against you." And Dawid and all the people who were with him rose up and passed over the Yarden. And by morning light not even one remained who had not gone over the Yarden. And Ahithophel saw that his advice was not followed, so he saddled his donkey and rose up and went home to his house, to his city. Then he gave command to his house and hanged himself and died. And he was buried in his father's burial site. And Dawid came to Mahanaim. And Absalom passed over the Yarden, he and all the men of Yisrael with him. And Absalom appointed Amasa over the army instead of Joab. Now Amasa was the son of a man whose name was Yithra, a Yisraeli, who had gone in to Abigail, the daughter of Nahash, sister of Tzeruiah, Joab's mother. And Yisrael and Absalom encamped in the land of Gilead. And it came to be, when Dawid had come to Mahanaim, that Shobi son of Nahash from Rabbah of the children of Ammon, and Machir son of Amiel from Lodebar, and Barzillai the Gileadite from Rogelim, brought beds and basins, and earthen vessels and wheat, and barley and flour, and roasted grain and beans, and lentils, and parched vegetables, and honey and curds, and sheep and cheese of the herd, for Dawid and the people who were with him to eat. For they said, "The people are hungry and weary and thirsty in the wilderness." And Dawid mustered the people who were with him, and set commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds over them. And Dawid sent out 1/3 of the people under the hand of Joab, and 1/3 under the hand of Abishai, son of Zeruiah, Joab's brother, and 1/3 under the hand of Ittai the Gittite. And the sovereign said to the people, "I shall certainly go out with you too." But the people answered, "Do not go out, for if we flee away, they would not set heart upon us. Even if half of us die, they would not set heart upon us. For now, 10,000 are like us. Therefore, it is better for you to support us from the city." And the sovereign said to them, "That which is good in your eyes I do." And the sovereign stood beside the gate, and all the people went out by hundreds and by thousands. And the sovereign ordered Joab and Abishai and Ittai, saying, "Be gentle with the young man Absalom for my sake." And all the people heard when the sovereign gave all the commanders orders concerning Absalom. So the people went out into the field to meet Yisrael. And the battle was in the forest of Ephraim, and the people of Yisrael were smitten there before the servants of David. And the slaughter there that day was great, 20,000. And the battle there was scattered over the face of all the land, and the forest devoured more people that day than the sword devoured. And when Absalom met the servants of David, Absalom was riding on a mule, and the mule went under the thick branches of a great terebinth tree, and his head caught hold in the terebinth. And he was suspended between the heavens and earth, while the mule which was under him passed on. And a certain man saw it, and informed Joab, and said, Look, I saw Absalom hanging in a terebinth tree. And Joab said to the man who informed him, Now look, you saw, and why did you not strike him to the earth there? Then I would have given you 10 pieces of silver and a belt. But the man answered Joab, Though I were to receive 1,000 pieces of silver in my hand, I would not raise my hand against the son of the sovereign, because in our hearing the sovereign commanded you, and Abishai and Ittai, saying, Take heed, you who go against the youth, against Absalom. Otherwise I would have been untrue to my own life, for no matter is hidden from the sovereign, and you yourself would have set yourself against me. And Joab said, Let me not waste time here with you. And he took 3 spears in his hand, and thrust them through Absalom's heart, while he was still alive in the midst of the terebinth tree. And 10 young men who bore Joab's armor went around, and struck Absalom, and put him to death. And Joab blew with the shophar, and the people returned from pursuing Israel, for Joab had held the people back. And they took Absalom and threw him into a large pit in the forest, and heaped a very large pile of stones over him. And all Israel fled, each one to his tent. And Absalom in his lifetime had taken and set up a monument for himself, which is in the sovereign's valley. For he said, I have no son to keep my name in remembrance. And he called the monument after his own name, and to this day it is called Absalom's monument. And Ahimaaz son of Zadok said, Please let me run and take the news to the sovereign, for Yahuah has avenged him of his enemies. But Joab said to him, You are not the man to take the news today, but you shall take the news another day. But today you do not take news, because the sovereign's son is dead. And Joab said to the Cushite, Go, inform the sovereign what you have seen. And the Cushite bowed himself to Joab and ran. And Ahimaaz son of Zadok said again to Joab, And whatever might be, please let me also run after the Cushite. And Joab said, Why would you run, my son? There is no news to bring you reward. And whatever might be, he said, let me run. So he said to him, Run. And Ahimaaz ran by the way of the plain, and passed the Cushite. Now David was sitting between the 2 gates, and the watchman went up to the roof over the gate, to the wall, and lifted his eyes, and looked, and saw a man running alone. So the watchman called out, and told the sovereign. And the sovereign said, If he is alone, there is news in his mouth. And he came nearer, and nearer. And the watchman saw another man running. And the watchman called out to the gatekeeper and said, "See, a man running by himself." And the sovereign said, "This one is also bringing news." And the watchman said, "I see the running of the first is like the running of Ahimaat son of Tzadok." And the sovereign said, "This is a good man, and he comes with good news." And Ahimaat called out and said to the sovereign, "Peace." Then he bowed down with his face to the earth before the sovereign and said, "Blessed be Yahuah your Elohim, who has surrendered the men who raised their hand against my master the sovereign." And the sovereign said, "Peace to the young man, to Absalom." And Ahimaat answered, "When Joab sent the sovereign's servant and me, your servant, I saw a great crowd, but I did not know why." And the sovereign said, "Turn aside and stand here." And he turned aside and stood still. And see, the Cushite came. And the Cushite said, "Receive news, my master the sovereign. For Yahuah has avenged you this day of all those who rose against you." And the sovereign said to the Cushite, "Peace to the young man, to Absalom." And the Cushite answered, "Let the enemies of my master, the sovereign, and all who rise against you for evil, be as that young man is." And the sovereign was shaken, and went up to the room over the gate, and wept. And as he went, he said this, "O my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I had died instead of you. O Absalom, my son, my son." And it was reported to Joab, "See, the sovereign is weeping and mourning for Absalom." So the deliverance that day was turned into mourning for all the people. For the people heard on that day, saying, "The sovereign has been grieved for his son." And the people stole back into the city that day, as people who are ashamed steal away when they flee in battle. And the sovereign covered his face. And the sovereign cried out with a loud voice, "O my son Absalom, O Absalom, my son, my son." And Joab came into the house to the sovereign and said, "Today you have put to shame all your servants who today have saved your life and the lives of your sons and daughters and the lives of your wives and the lives of your concubines by loving those who hate you and by hating those who love you. For you have made it clear today that you have neither commanders nor servants. For today I know that if Absalom had lived, and all of us had died today, then it would be right in your eyes. And now, arise, go out and speak to the heart of your servants. For I swear by Yahuah, if you do not go out, not one passes the night with you. And that is worse for you than all the evil that has come upon you from your youth until now." So the sovereign rose up and sat in the gate. And they told all the people, saying, "Look, the sovereign is sitting in the gate." And all the people came before the sovereign. As for Yisrael, they had fled, each one to his tent. And it came to be that all the people were contending throughout all the tribes of Yisrael, saying, "The sovereign delivered us from the hand of the enemies. He rescued us from the hand of the Philistines. And now he has fled from the land because of Absalom. And Absalom, whom we anointed over us, has died in battle. And now, why are you silent about bringing back the sovereign?" And sovereign Dawid sent to Tzadok and Abiathar the priests, saying, "Speak to the elders of Yehudah, saying, why are you the last to bring the sovereign back to his house, since the words of all Yisrael have come to the sovereign, to his house? You are my brothers, you are my bone and my flesh. Why then are you the last to bring back the sovereign?" And say to Amasa, "Are you not my bone and my flesh? Elohim do so to me, and more also, if you are not commander of the army before me all the days in place of Joab." Thus he swayed the hearts of all the men of Yehudah as one man, so that they sent to the sovereign, saying, "Return, you and all your servants." So the sovereign returned and came to the Yarden, and Yehudah came to Gilgal, to go to meet the sovereign, to bring the sovereign over the Yarden. And Shimei, son of Gera, a Binyamite, who was from Bahurim, hastened and came down with the men of Yehudah to meet sovereign Dawid. And with him were 1,000 men of Binyamin, and Seba, the servant of the house of Shaul, and his 15 sons, and his 20 servants with him. And they rushed over the Yarden before the sovereign. And they passed over the ford to bring over the sovereign's household, and to do what was good in his eyes. And Shimei, son of Gera, fell down before the sovereign when he had passed over the Yarden, and said to the sovereign, "Do not let my master reckon crookedness to me. Neither remember what wrong your servant did on the day that my master the sovereign left Jerusalem, that the sovereign should take it to heart. For I, your servant, know that I have sinned. And see, I have come today, first of all the house of Joseph, to go down to meet my master, the sovereign." But Abishai, son of Zeruiah, answered and said, "Should Shimei not be put to death for this, because he cursed the anointed of Yahuah?" And Dawid said, "What have I to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah, that you are to be adversaries to me today? Should any man be put to death in Yisrael today? For do I not know that I am sovereign over Yisrael today?" So the sovereign said to Shimei, "You do not die." And the sovereign swore to him. And Mephibosheth, son of Shaul, came down to meet the sovereign. And he had not attended to his feet, nor trimmed his moustache, nor washed his garments, from the day the sovereign went away until the day he came back in peace. And it came to be, when he had come to Jerusalem to meet the sovereign, that the sovereign said to him, "Why did you not go with me, Mephibosheth?" And he answered, "My master, O sovereign, my servant deceived me. For your servant said, I am saddling a donkey for myself to ride on it and go to the sovereign. because your servant is lame. And he spoke slander against your servant to my master, the sovereign. But my master, the sovereign, is as a messenger of Elohim. Therefore, do what is good in your eyes. For all of my father's house were but dead men before my master, the sovereign. Yet you set your servant among those who eat at your own table. Therefore, what right have I still to cry out any more to the sovereign? Then the sovereign said to him, Why do you speak any more of your matters? I have said, You and Seba share the land. And Mephibosheth said to the sovereign, Rather, let him take it all, since my master the sovereign has come back in peace to his own house. And Barzillai the Gileadite came down from Rogelim and passed over the Yarden with the sovereign to send him on his way over the Yarden. And Barzillai was a very aged man, 80 years old. And he had sustained the sovereign while he was dwelling at Mahanaim, for he was a very rich man. And the sovereign said to Barzillai, Pass over with me, and I shall provide for you with me in Jerusalem. But Barzillai said to the sovereign, How many are the days of my life, that I should go up with the sovereign to Jerusalem? I am now 80 years old. Do I discern between the good and evil? Does your servant taste what I eat or what I drink? Do I still hear the voice of singing men and singing women? Why then should your servant be a further burden to my master the sovereign? Your servant would only pass over the Yarden with the sovereign for a short distance, and why should the sovereign repay me with such a reward? Please let your servant turn back again to die in my own city, near the burial site of my father and mother. But here is your servant Kimham. Let him pass over with my master the sovereign, and do for him what is good in your eyes. And the sovereign answered, Kimham is passing over with me, and let me do for him what is good in your eyes. Now whatever you choose of me, I do for you. Then all the people went over the Yarden. And when the sovereign had passed over, the sovereign kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and he returned to his own place. And the sovereign passed over to Gilgal, and Kimham passed over with him. And all the people of Yehudah brought the sovereign over, and also half the people of Yisrael. And see, all the men of Yisrael were coming to the sovereign. And they said to the sovereign, Why have our brothers, the men of Yehudah, stolen you away and brought the sovereign and his household and all David's men with him over the Yarden? And all the men of Yehudah answered the men of Yisrael, Because the sovereign is our relative. And why are you displeased over this matter? Have we at all eaten at the sovereign's cost? Or has he given us any gift? And the men of Yisrael answered the men of Yehudah and said, We have 10 parts in the sovereign, and in David too. We have more than you. Why then did you despise us? Was it not our advice first to bring back our sovereign? But the words of the men of Yehudah were harsher than the words of the men of Yisrael. And there came to be a man of Belial, whose name was Sheba, son of Bichri, a Binyamite. And he blew with the shophar and said, We have no part in David, nor do we have inheritance in the son of Yishai. Each one to his tents, O Yisrael. Then all the men of Yisrael deserted Dawid to follow Sheba, the son of Bikri. But the men of Yehudah, from the Yarden as far as Jerusalem, clung to their sovereign. And Dawid came to his house at Jerusalem. And the sovereign took the 10 women, his concubines whom he had left to look after the house, and put them in a protected house and supported them, but did not go into them. So they were shut up to the day of their death, living in widowhood. And the sovereign said to Amasa, "Call the men of Yehudah for me within 3 days, and be present here yourself." And Amasa went to call the men of Yehudah. But he delayed longer than the appointed time which Dawid had appointed him. And Dawid said to Abishai, "Now Sheba son of Bikri is going to do us more evil than Absalom. Take the servants of your master and pursue him, lest he find for himself walled cities and escape us." Then the men of Joab went out after him, with the Kerethites and the Pelethites, and all the mighty men, and they went out of Jerusalem to pursue Sheba, son of Bikri. When they were near the large stone which is in Gibeon, Amasa came before them. And Joab was dressed in battle armor, and on it was a girdle with a sword fastened in its sheath at his hips. And as he went forward, it fell out. And Joab said to Amasa, "Peace, my brother." And Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him. But Amasa was not on guard against the sword in Joab's hand, and he struck him with it in the stomach, and his inward parts poured out on the ground, and he did not strike him again, and he died. Then Joab and Abishai, his brother, pursued Sheba, son of Bikri, and a man, one of Joab's men, stood beside him and said, "Whoever is well pleased with Joab, and whoever is for Dawid, let him follow Joab." And Amasa was rolling in his blood in the middle of the highway. And the man saw that all the people stood still. So he moved Amasa from the highway to the field and threw a garment over him. When he saw that everyone who came upon him halted. When he was removed from the highway, all the men passed on after Joab to pursue Sheba, son of Bikri. And he passed over through all the tribes of Israel to Abel, and to Beth Maacah, and to all the Berites. And they were assembled and went after him too. And they went and besieged him in Abel of Beth Maacah, and they cast up a siege mound against the city. And it stood in a rampart, and all the people who were with Joab battered the wall to throw it down. Then a wise woman called out from the city, "Listen, listen, please say to Joab, 'Come nearby, so that I speak to you.'" And he came near to her, and the woman said, "Are you Joab?" And he answered, "I am." Then she said to him, "Listen to the words of your female servant." And he answered, "I am listening." Then she spoke, saying, "In former times they often spoke, saying, 'Let them inquire of Abel.' And so they ended the matter. I am of the peaceable and trustworthy ones in Israel. You seek to destroy a city and a mother in Israel. Why do you swallow up the inheritance of Yahuah?" And Joab answered and said, far be it from me to swallow up or to destroy. That is not the case, but a man from the mountains of Ephraim, Sheba son of Bikri by name, has raised his hand against the sovereign, against David. Hand him over, him alone, and I withdraw from the city. And the woman said to Joab, Look, his head is going to be thrown to you over the wall. So the woman in her wisdom went to all the people, and they cut off the head of Sheba son of Bikri, and threw it out to Joab. Then he blew with the shophar, and they dispersed from the city, each one to his tent. And Joab returned to the sovereign at Jerusalem. Now Joab was over all the army of Yisrael, and Benaiah son of Jehoiada was over the Kerethites and the Pelethites, and Adoram was over the compulsory labor, and Jehoshaphat son of Ahilud was recorder, and Shewah was scribe, and Zadok and Abiathar were the priests, and Era the Yairite was priest to David. And there was a scarcity of food in the days of David for 3 years, year after year. And David sought the face of Yahuah, and Yahuah answered, because of Shaul and his bloodthirsty house, because he killed the Gibeonites. The sovereign therefore called the Gibeonites and spoke to them. Now the Gibeonites were not of the children of Yisrael, but of the remnant of the Amorites. And the children of Yisrael had sworn protection to them, but Shaul had sought to strike them in his ardor for the children of Yisrael and Yehudah. So David said to the Gibeonites, What should I do for you? And with what do I make atonement, so that you bless the inheritance of Yahuah? And the Gibeonites said to him, It is no matter of silver or gold between us and Shaul or his house. Neither is it for us to put to death any man in Yisrael. And he said, Whatever you say I do for you. And they said to the sovereign, The man who consumed us and plotted against us, that we should be destroyed from remaining in all the border of Yisrael. Let 7 men of his sons be given to us, and we shall hang them before Yahuah in Gibeah of Shaul, whom Yahuah chose. And the sovereign said, I give them. But the sovereign spared Mephibosheth, son of Jehonathan, son of Shaul, because of the oath of Yahuah that was between them, between David and Jehonathan, son of Shaul. And the sovereign took the 2 sons of Ritzpah, the daughter of Aiah, whom she bore to Shaul, Armoni, and the other Mephibosheth, and the 5 sons of Michal, the daughter of Shaul, whom she brought up for Adriel, the son of Barzillai, the Meholathite, and gave them into the hands of the Gibeonites, and they hanged them on the hill before Yahuah. So the 7 fell together, and were put to death in the days of harvest, in the first days, in the beginning of barley harvest. And Ritzpah, the daughter of Aiah, took sackcloth and spread it for herself on the rock, from the beginning of harvest until the late rains poured on them from the heavens. And she did not allow the birds of the heavens to rest on them by day, nor the beasts of the field by night. And David was informed what Ritzpah, the daughter of Aiah, the concubine of Shaul, had done. And David went and took the bones of Shaul, and the bones of Jehonathan his son, from the men of Yabesh Gilad, who had stolen them from the street of Beth Shan, where the Philistines had hung them up, after the Philistines had struck down Shaul in Gilboa. And he brought up the bones of Shaul and the bones of Jehonathan, his son, from there. And they gathered the bones of those who had been hanged, and buried the bones of Shaul and Jehonathan his son in the land of Binyamin in Selah, in the burial site of Kish his father, and did all that the sovereign commanded. And after that, Elohim heard prayer for the land, and the Philistines were again fighting against Israel. So David and his servants with him went down and fought against the Philistines. And David was weary, and Yishbo Benob, who was one of the sons of the giant, the weight of whose bronze spear was 300 pieces, who was bearing a new sword, spoke of striking David. But Abishai, son of Zeruiah, came to help him, and struck the Philistine and killed him. Then David's men swore to him, saying, "Do not go out with us to battle any more, lest you put out the lamp of Yisrael." And it came to be afterward that there was a battle again with the Philistines at Gob. Then Sibbecai, the Hushathite, struck Saph, who was one of the sons of the giant. And there was a battle with the Philistines again at Gob, where Elhanan, son of Yaareh Oregim, the Beth Lehemite, struck Goliath the Gittite, the shaft of whose spear was like a weaver's beam. And there was a battle in Gath again, where there was a man of great height, who had 6 fingers on each hand, and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in number. And he also was descended from the giants. And he reproached Yisrael, and Jehonathan, son of Shimi, the brother of David, struck him. These 4 were born to the giant in Gath, and they fell by the hand of David, and by the hand of his servants. Then David spoke to Yahuah the words of this song, on the day when Yahuah had delivered him from the hand of all his enemies, and from the hand of Shaul. And he said, "Yahuah is my rock, and my stronghold, and my deliverer. My Elohim is my rock. I take refuge in him, my shield and the horn of my deliverance, my high tower and my refuge, my Saviour. You save me from violence. I call on Yahuah, the one to be praised, and I am saved from my enemies. For the waves of death surrounded me. Floods of Belial made me afraid. The cords of Sheol were all around me. The snares of death were before me. In my distress, I called upon Yahuah, and to my Elohim I cried. And from his Hekal he heard my voice, and my cry was in his ears. And the earth shook and trembled. The foundations of the heavens were troubled, because he was wroth. Smoke went up from his nostrils, and devouring fire from his mouth. Coals were kindled by it. And he bowed the heavens and came down, and thick darkness was under his feet. And he rode upon a cherub, and flew, and was seen upon the wings of the wind. And he put darkness around him as booths. darkness of waters, thick clouds. From the brightness before him, coals of fire were kindled. Yahuah thundered from the heavens, and the Most High sent forth his voice, and he sent out arrows and scattered them, lightning and confused them. And the channels of the sea were seen. The foundations of the world were uncovered. At the rebuke of Yahuah, at the blast of the breath of his nostrils, he sent from above. He took me. He drew me out of many waters. He delivered me from my strong enemy, from those hating me, for they were stronger than I. They confronted me in the day of my calamity, but Yahuah was my support, and he brought me out into a large place. He delivered me, for he delighted in me. Yahuah rewarded me according to my righteousness. According to the cleanness of my hands, he repaid me. For I have guarded the ways of Yahuah, and have not acted wrongly against my Elohim. For all his right rulings are before me. As for his laws, I do not turn from them. And I am perfect before him, and I guard myself from my crookedness. And Yahuah repays me according to my righteousness, according to my cleanness before his eyes.
With the lovingly committed ones you show yourself lovingly committed. With the perfect one you show yourself perfect.
With the clean you show yourself clean, and with the crooked you show yourself twisted. For you save the humble people, but your eyes are on the haughty to bring them low. For you are my lamp, O Yahuah, and Yahuah makes my darkness light. For with you I run against a band. With my Elohim I leap over a wall. The El, his way is perfect. The word of Yahuah is proven. He is a shield to all who take refuge in him. For who is El besides Yahuah? And who is a rock besides our Elohim? El is my mighty stronghold, and he makes my way perfect, making my feet like the feet of deer, and sets me on my high places, teaching my hands for battle, so that my arms bend a bow of bronze. And you give me the shield of your deliverance, and your lowliness makes me great. You enlarge my step under me, so that my feet shall not slip. I pursue my enemies and destroy them, and I do not turn back till they are destroyed. And I destroy them and crush them, so that they do not rise and fall under my feet. And you gird me with strength for battle. You cause my adversaries to bow under me, and you make my enemies turn their backs, those hating me, and I cut them off. They look, but there is no Saviour. Unto Yahuah, but he shall not answer them. And I beat them as dust of the earth. I beat them small as dirt in the streets. I spread them out. And you deliver me from the strivings of my people. You safeguard me as the head of the nations. A people I have not known serve me. Sons of the foreigner submit to me. As soon as they hear, they obey me. Sons of the foreigner fade away and gird themselves from their strongholds. Yahuah lives, and blessed is my rock. and exalted is my Elohim, the rock of my deliverance. El who avenges me, and bringing peoples down under me, and bringing me out from my enemies. You raise me up above those rising up against me. You deliver me from a man of violence. Therefore, I give thanks to you, O Yahuah, among nations, and I sing praise to your name. A tower of deliverance is he to his sovereign, and showing loving commitment to his anointed, to David and his seed forever. And these are the last words of David, the saying of David son of Yishai, the saying of the man raised above, the anointed of the Elohim of Jacob, and the sweet singer of Yisrael. The Spirit of Yahuah has spoken through me, and his word is on my tongue. The Elohim of Yisrael said, the rock of Yisrael spoke to me, one who rules over man righteously, who rules in the fear of Elohim, is like the light of the morning when the sun rises, a morning without clouds, tender grass from the earth, from sunshine, from rain. For is not my house so with El? For he has made an everlasting covenant with me, ordered in all matters, and guarded. For all my deliverance and all desire, shall he not make it send forth a branch? But the worthless are all as thorns thrust away, for they are not taken with hands. But the man who touches them uses iron, or the shaft of a spear, and with fire they are burned up in their place. These are the names of the mighty men whom David had: Yosheb Basshebeth, the Tachemonite, chief among the officers. He was Adino the Etznite, for 800 slain at one time. And after him was Eleazar son of Dodo, the Ahohite, one of the 3 mighty men with David when they taunted the Philistines who were gathered there for battle. And the men of Yisrael had gone up. He arose and struck the Philistines until his hand was weary. But his hand clung to the sword. So Yahuah brought about a great deliverance that day. And the people returned after him only to plunder. And after him was Shammah son of Age the Hararite. And the Philistines had gathered into a company where there was a plot of ground covered with lentils. And the people fled from the Philistines. But he took his stand in the middle of the field and delivered it, and struck the Philistines. And Yahuah wrought a great deliverance. And 3 of the 30 chief men went down at harvest time and came to David at the cave of Adullam, while the army of Philistines encamped in the valley of Rephaim. And David was then in the stronghold, while a watchpost of the Philistines was then in Bethlehem. And David longed and said, "Oh, that someone would give me a drink of the water from the well of Bethlehem, which is by the gate." And the 3 mighty men broke through the camp of the Philistines, and drew water from the well of Bethlehem that was by the gate, and took it, and brought it to David. But he would not drink it, but poured it out to Yahuah. And he said, "Far be it from me, O Yahuah, to do this. The blood of the men who went at the risk of their lives. so he would not drink it. This is what the 3 mighty men did. And Abishai, the brother of Joab, son of Zeruiah, was chief of another 3. And he lifted his spear against 300 men whom he slew, and had a name among these 3. Was he not the most esteemed of 3? And he became their commander. But he did not come to the first 3. And Benayahu was the son of Jehoiada, son of a brave man from Kabseel, great in deeds. He struck 2 lion-like men of Moab, and he went down and struck a lion in the midst of a pit on a snowy day. And he struck a Mitzrian, an impressive man, and the Mitzrian had a spear in his hand. So he went down to him with a staff, wrested the spear out of the Mitzrian's hand, and killed him with his own spear. This is what Benayahu son of Jehoiada did, and had a name among 3 mighty men. He was more esteemed than the 30, but he did not come to the first 3. And Dawid set him over his guard. Asahel, the brother of Joab, was one of the 30. Elhanan, son of Dodo of Bethlehem. Shammah the Haradite. Elika the Haradite. Heletz the Paltite. Ira son of Ikesh the Tekoite. Abiezer the Anethothite. Mebunai the Hushathite.
Salmon the Ahohite. Maharai the Netophathite.
Heleb son of Baana the Netophathite. Ittai son of Ribai from Gib'ah of the children of Binyamin. Benayahu the Pirathonite. Hiddai from the Wadis of Gash. Abi Albon the Arbathite. Asmaweth the Barhumite. Eliahba the Shaalbanite of the sons of Yashan. Jehonathan. Shammah the Hararite. Ahiam son of Sharah the Hararite. Eliphalet son of Ahasbai, son of the Ma'akathite. Eliam son of Ahithophel the Gilonite. Hetzrai the Carmelite. Pa'arai the Arbite. Yig'al son of Nathan of Tsobah. Bani the Gadite. Selek the Ammonite. Naharai the Be'erathite. Armor-bearer of Joab, son of Zeruiah. Ira the Yithrite. Gareb the Yithrite. And Uriah the Hittite. 37 in all. And again the displeasure of Yahuah burned against Yisrael, and moved Dawid against them to say, Go, number Yisrael and Yehudah. And the sovereign said to Joab, the commander of the army who was with him, Go, please, throughout all the tribes of Yisrael, from Dan to Beersheba, and register the people, so that I know the number of the people. And Joab said to the sovereign, Even if Yahuah your Elohim does add to the people 100-fold more than there are, and the eyes of my master the sovereign see it, but why does my master the sovereign delight in this matter? However, the sovereign's word was strong towards Joab and against the commanders of the army. And Joab and the commanders of the army went out from the presence of the sovereign to register the people of Yisrael. And they passed over the Yarden and camped in Aroer, on the right side of the town, which is in the midst of the Wadi of Gad, and toward Yazer. Then they came to Gilad, and to the land of Tahtim Hodshi, And they came to Dan Ya'an, and around to Tzidon, and they came to the stronghold of Sor, and to all the cities of the Hilwites and the Canaanites, and went out to South Yehudah, as far as Beersheba. And when they had gone through all the land, they came to Jerusalem at the end of 9 new moons and 20 days. And Joab gave the number of the registration of the people to the sovereign. And there were in Yisrael 800,000 brave men who drew the sword. And the men of Yehudah were 500,000 men. And the heart of David struck him after he had numbered the people. And David said to Yahuah, I have sinned greatly in what I have done. But now, I pray, O Yahuah, take away the crookedness of your servant, for I have done very foolishly. And David rose up in the morning, and the word of Yahuah came to the prophet Gad, David's seer, saying, Go, and you shall speak to David. Thus said Yahuah, I hold 3 options before you. Choose one of them, and I do it to you. Gad then came to David and informed him. And he said to him, Should 7 years of scarcity of food come to you in your land? Or would you flee 3 new moons before your enemies, while they pursue you? Or should there be 3 days' plague in your land? Now know and see what answer I take back to him who sent me. And David said to Gad, I am in great trouble. Please let us fall into the hand of Yahuah, for his compassion is great. But do not let me fall into the hand of man. And Yahuah sent a plague upon Yisrael from the morning till the appointed time, and from Dan to Beersheba 70,000 men of the people died. And the messenger stretched out his hand over Jerusalem to destroy it. And Yahuah relented concerning the evil, and said to the messenger who was destroying the people, It is enough, now stop your hand. And the messenger of Yahuah was by the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. And David spoke to Yahuah when he saw the messenger who was striking the people, and said, See, I have sinned, and I have done perversely. But these sheep, what have they done? Let your hand, I pray, be against me and against my father's house. And Gad came that day to David and said to him, Go up, raise a slaughter place to Yahuah on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. And David, according to the word of Gad, went up as Yahuah commanded. And Araunah looked and saw the sovereign and his servants coming toward him. And Araunah went out and bowed before the sovereign with his face to the ground. And Araunah said, Why has my master the sovereign come to his servant? And David said, To buy the threshing floor from you, to build a slaughter place to Yahuah, so that the plague be withdrawn from the people. And Araunah said to David, Let my master the sovereign take and offer that which seems good to him. Here are cattle for a sending offering, and threshing implements, and the yokes of the cattle for wood. All these, O sovereign, Araunah has given to the sovereign. And Araunah said to the sovereign, Yahuah, your Elohim, accept you. And the sovereign said to Araunah, No, let me buy it from you for a price, for certain. I am not offering ascending offerings to Yahuah, my Elohim, without cost. So David bought the threshing floor and the cattle for 50 shekels of silver. And David built a slaughter place to Yahuah there, and offered ascending offerings and peace offerings. And Yahuah answered the prayers for the land, and the plague was withdrawn from Yisrael.